Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Big Bad Bench. So, last time I did some dissections of a Mac Classic and a Mac Classic 2. Both of them had some issues. Obviously, the Mac Classic had some really big problems with the battery leakage. The Classic 2 was generally fine, but it needed a recap. So I did some cleanups on the Mac Classic 2, and I did extensive repairs on the Classic 1 motherboard, and I'll get to that in a second. But I wanted to do the recap job for the Mac Classic 2, and then we'll see if both of these things work. So, all right. So we have the Classic motherboard hanging out with its RAM card, but let's start off with the Classic 2 board. Set them over to the side. So this board was generally okay. It had some issues, so if we look at this a little closer, the biggest issue, all the caps had leaked, but most of them hadn't really caused much damage. This particular cap, position C3, was the worst. And when I took that cap off, unfortunately, I lifted the solder pad, but also a couple of traces. And this position has 3 different lines running to it, and so what I had to do was put a little trace repair in there, and I covered it up with a little bit of solder mask, but all 3 positions should be attached now. You can see there's also some vias that are pretty close, so if you ever need to repair this spot, you got to be kind of careful with it. And I didn't do that on stream because I had to do that mostly under the microscope, and I don't have a camera that works with my microscope right now. So let's get started on this recap. And so I'm going to be sort of bouncing around here because I have to look for my pictures for what this board is, for all of its caps. So let's start off with these 47 microfarads. So there's one 47 there, and there's another 47 there. I think there's one more 47 on this board. Yeah, there's another 47 that goes over here. Let's start on the nasty spot. Okay, and I kind of said this before, but I've sort of fallen in love with tantalums for recap jobs. It just goes really smoothly. I like how small they are. And, the stripes on tantalums refer to the point to the positive side, which is over here on this cap. So hopefully we can make a little bridge here that connects. If not, oh, I think we got it. Let's double check to see if that's actually connected. So it's not going to be the prettiest repair in the world, but hopefully it should work. There we go. All right, awesome. Well, that went smoother than I thought it was going to go. All right, our next 47 should be right here. I had gone in and cleaned all these solder pads. And so I found the best way to recap with tantalums is to solder, put a little bit of solder on one of the pads, sit it down, let that go. Oh, we can make that a tad straighter. Okay. Check, make sure it's touching. Okay, that one's in. And our last 47 is right here. Okay, so then this one has, I think the remaining are 1 and 10 microfarad. So here's the 1 microfarad caps. That one go? Alright, so the one should go right here. Okay. Now all the rest of these, I believe, are 10 microfarad. Let's just double check. Oh, nope, there's another one at C15. Alright, let's just double check, triple check one more time. 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. Tens. Okay, so yeah, I think all the rest of these are tens. And we got caps flying everywhere. Okay. flux on these. I forgot to do that on some of them, but the joints were actually pretty nice on most of them so far, so I'm not overly concerned about the flux on those, but this looks like it could use a little bit of help here. A little bit too much solder on that one. I think my flux is starting to go. Get a lot of little points on my solder joints lately. Part of me always is just like, well, it's making its connection, just leave it. And then the other part's like, no, it has to be all lined up and perfect. Which, if you're not doing your work inside of a microscope, it is a little bit hard to get it perfect. Let's just double check. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, okay. Yep, 2 more 10s in this area. Also, while I'm here, double check. There's our plus here. There's our stripe. There's our plus. There's stripe. Plus stripe. What about this one? That one's the other way. Also see some solder that I left on the board. Get rid of that stuff. Okay. One it's looking pretty good. Most of our solder joints are nice and smooth there. A couple of them could be prettier, but I'll go back and clean it up later. Alright, so now we have this section of the board. Double check my pictures. 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. Okay, so 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. Probably should have bought more 10s. Really enjoy recapping. It's a nice, calm activity. Alright, so those ones look pretty good. Shortly I'll show you the Mac Classic board, which was not a calm activity. That one stresses the heck out of me. Okay. A little too much solder, but it's okay. Put a little bit more on that pad. Alright, so I think that's all done. Plus stripe, 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 plus stripe. Good, good, good. Good. Good, good. All right, so now to test this thing. I guess I'm gonna ethanol this off a little bit. Or sorry, isopropanol. So otherwise this board looks really good. I pulled the battery connector out. There wasn't any corrosion that I saw. Like I said, the only bad part of this board was underneath C3. There was another cap over here that had a lot of leakage, but all the traces look really nice under there. So I'm gonna let this dry for a second, and let's get our new test bed out. So what we have here is the Mac Classic 2 chassis, and this board actually, the analog board in this system looked really good, and I figured, and the voltages all look good, but I figured, I may as well check and recap it anyway, and so I've recapped everything except for the 50 volt 470 microfarad one, which I forgot to buy a replacement for. So we'll see how that goes. So this thing, and when I pulled the caps off, there were some leakage that was evident in the caps that I couldn't see it next to the caps. It was just only under the caps. So it was a good thing that I wound up recapping it. And thanks for the suggestions that I got on Reddit to recap that. And so hopefully this thing's all good to go. I retrobrighted the front of it. I have to go back and do a couple things. I normally don't like using the peroxide cream, and I did use some of the peroxide cream, and there's a little bit of streaking that you can kind of see here. So I want to go back and finish fixing that. But let's go to, oh, sorry, 1 second. So if we look at, this is the Mac Classic board, not the Classic 2 that we were just working on. This is the Classic board that I had started working on before. In the last video I went in and recapped it with regular caps, but I decided to go in and redo it with tantalum since I love it. And also while I was doing that, I checked some of the solder pads a little bit more closely, and they generally all looked fine. A couple of them had lifted up a little bit. There seemed like maybe a couple there was a weak connection between the trace and the pad, but they should have all worked. But anyway, it's been recapped, and I put a new crystal oscillator on. I also threw a CR2032 battery on there just to see if the real-time clock is working. One of the things I found when I went in and to do the recap is I found that there were a lot more trace problems on this board than I had originally anticipated or noticed. And so I said before that R88, R89, and R90 were bad, and they were. The vias were totally shot. The external appearance of the vias was shot. They were totally full of the battery corrosion crap. But also these vias over here were gone, basically. And so what I did, it's not going to be easy to see with the battery on there, but I pushed like the legs from capacitors through the vias and used them to connect the two sides of the boards with the traces. Obviously the legs for capacitors are kind of overkill, and really they're not ideal for this kind of work because they're just hard to bend once you get them through the via. It's perfect diameter. It could be a little bit smaller, but I needed something that would actually poke through, and those worked. And so you can see here that I pushed them through and bent them over and connected them to the traces. And so there were a bunch over here, and it looked like some of them actually are ones that go to the processor. But I also ran them through for R88, R89, and R90, and maybe the serial chip will work. I don't know. But yeah, let's see if this thing works. So one thing I also want to show is, oh shoot, I didn't do it right. Well, unfortunately, the first time I tried this thing, and when I initially plugged it in, I got horizontal stripes, and so there were just thin horizontal stripes all the way across the screen. And then I put the memory board in, and instead of the horizontal stripes, I got the checkerboard pattern. So that's something that a lot of people see and is indicative of the board needing to be recapped or whatever. But it had already been recapped, and so I hadn't caught all the trace problems at that point, and so maybe the trace problems had a lot to do with that. And so if I had the memory board in, or if I had the memory board in, it was the checkerboard. If there was no memory board, it was horizontal stripes. And I thought that was weird, and so I'm kind of hoping that we're not looking at a corrupted ROM or something like that. Let's go on. Let's go full out here. Gonna put the memory card in. And let's put a hard drive. So this is the hard drive that was in the Classic 2. I put it in an external enclosure and hooked it up to my LC3, and it worked fine. And it should have a functioning operating system on it. I didn't try to boot the LC3 with it, but it looked like there was a full OS install. Oh, and I should probably check the voltages. All right, I'm really nervous about this. This with all that trace repair that I did, that was the most extensive trace repair job I've ever done. I've fixed like an individual line here or there, but I've never had to like go in and connect vias on both sides, and just so extensive. It's really amazing how bad the batteries screw these things up. Let's plug a keyboard in. Keyboard's a little loose. That kind of worries me. I also had put a bunch of deoxit in there, so maybe it's just really well lubricated. Okay, we got that in. Power cord. Oof, alright. I feel like I'm gonna throw up here. Alright, let's see. We got bong. We got bong. Yes. Alright, are we actually gonna boot though? Okay, so we have sort of a little checkerboard pattern. Oh shit, my camera mount's falling off. Okay. Oh, we got the mouse. Oh, we got Happy Mac. Well, I'm very relieved about this. Alright, our voltage, our 12 volts a little high. I should probably crank that down. Wow. Yes! Okay. Well, I'm glad that this worked. I was kind of scared about looking like a moron on the internet permanently. I mean, I probably look like a moron when I'm doing this stuff anyway, but if that didn't work, I would have been lost. Alright. I'm also super happy to see that the ROMs are not corrupted, because that really would have been awful. Alright. Okay, so one thing to see here is I put the CR2032 on there yesterday, and so it's showing the time here as 10:51, whatever. So I have a feeling that if I had just put that on, the clock would have started now, and it would basically kind of show up as noon right now. So that's making me think that the real-time clock is actually working. Let's go in and our control panels are open here. Sorry, I don't have my mouse on a great mousing surface. What the heck is this? Mac Barf. If anyone knows what Mac Barf is, let me know. Okay, so let's check our brightness display here. We're in the middle. Let's crank this up. Oh, that's nice. This is a nice screen. Oh, I'm excited. Oh, jeez. Can you tell I'm excited? Alright, let's shut this down. Okay, so maybe that's Mac barf. It makes sort of a puke noise when you shut your computer off. Ooh, I don't like the way that hard drive sounded when it shut down. Let's switch our lead over to the other voltage, see what that one looks like. So unplug this. Give it a second. Okay, our 5 volts at 5.06, 5.07, so that's pretty good. We're gonna boot again. We got our bong, so that's useful. Oh, I forgot to check if the RAM's all detected. Kind of see some of the streaking up there. I really don't like the cream. The hair salon supply store was out of peroxide, and so I had to use the cream. I gotta go see if any of the other places have some 40%, or I don't know if it's actually 40%, the peroxide with the 40 on it. Let's see. 5.07, 5.06. I think it kept the brightness setting. Yeah. Alright, so our CMOS is working, which is really exciting. Super stoked. Alright, we got our full 4 megs being recognized. Oh man, I'm super stoked about this. Yeah. Mac barf. Alright, so let's get rid of this. Switch back to here. Sorry, I don't have a more elegant solution for front and side view. Or front and top view. Let's pull this out for a second. Thank you, Mac Classic board. So I'll go in and give this thing another clean, but I think that one's good to go. Alright, so where did I put the Classic 2 board? Alright, here's our Classic 2 board. Looks to be dry. Let's boot it first without any RAM. And we'll come back and throw some RAM in it. If it works. Or I guess even if it doesn't work, I don't know, we'll see. I'm not as nervous about this one because I haven't put as much time into this one. The previous one I put a lot of time into repairing all those traces and stuff, so I was gonna be crushed if that didn't fix it. Well, not crushed, but disappointed. Okay. Hard drive. Let's see what we got here. Okay, holding my breath. No bong. Oh, vertical stripes. Okay, so that means I'm missing something. See if, like, the Mac Classic board, when I tried that with different RAM configurations, I got sort of different results. So let's see what happens if we add some RAM to this thing. The one thing I'm not totally sure about with these is the ROM configuration, and those jumpers. I meant to look that up. I forgot. Let's see what happens here. Ugly noise and some weird artifacting this time. So it's kind of similar to how the Mac Classic was working when I had issues with that one. So maybe there's a chance that there's a screwed up trace here that I've missed. Sorry, my camera mount is being a butt. Alright, so that was a really weird startup chime. If anyone knows what that is, let me know, because that one's kind of weird. So at least we have some things to go on, right? We know that the power supply, the analog board is good because it worked fine with the Mac Classic. But maybe I'm just have a bad solder joint or something here. Let's take a look at this. So this is the one that's got me the most concerned. I didn't check to see. Let's see. Looks like there's a via under here. No, that's connected. Oh, one thing I noticed on my other one is the power connector on the back looked like it might have had some cracked solder joints. I wonder if that's a possibility. These all look pretty good though. Alright, let's check the rest of our solder joints. That one looks like it could use some work. Okay, so C7 looks okay, but I think it's connected. C10, that looks good. That one looks good. Yeah, all these traces look good. Alright, let's try checking C7, putting a little more solder on that joint, maybe C10. Let's also, since we're here, let's reseat the ROMs. I don't know if that could do anything, but yeah, I had them out actually before. I think I deoxidated them. All the pins look nice. These pins look pretty nice. A little bit of fuzz there. Yeah, that all looks good. I'm gonna pop the RAM back out. Let's try it one more time with those caps taken out or resoldered. I'm not going to bother to plug in the hard drive on this one since we know it's not booting, or, well, it wasn't a second ago. Let's see what happens here. Sad bong. Wow. That's a lot of fun corruption. Alright, so that motherboard is not happy. So I think I'm going to end this stream here. Try to do some more troubleshooting and figure out what some of those codes mean, what that screen corruption means. But at least we got the Mac Classic motherboard going, and so I'm really happy about that. So try number 2 worked for the Mac Classic board. So the Mac Classic 2 board, I'll have to sit down and try some more stuff out. I'll give that a good thorough cleaning again. Maybe some of the residual flux or something like that is giving us some issues. But that was definitely an interesting combination of screen corruption. If this was interesting or useful, give me a like. Also, if you're interested in more Mac stuff, Friday I'm probably going to do a live stream to build an external Blue SCSI. I did an internal Blue SCSI before. I just got an external one so that I can do some stuff with some of the Mac Pluses that I got. So I'll probably be doing that Friday afternoon. So get subscribed, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for tuning in to the Big Bad Bench.